Sup guys, Chadlantis, weekly vendor rolls video for you. Starting off at New Monarchy. There's nothing really worth it here. As discussed in previous episodes of this weekly vendor roll thing, nothing's ever really worth it at any of the for any of the New Monarchy vendors. It's just the weapons for their archetypes compared to others are just never going to be really worth it. Even this thing that has rangefinder and then close arrow personal, it's just okay. Well, this god roll doesn't exist anyway. It's not even a god roll. But even if it did exist, the archetypes just aren't great. Nothing at New Monarchy is really worth it at all. Even the ghosts aren't god rolls this week. So sad day. Seems like New Monarchy, which is my favorite faction, will continue for the rest of Destiny to not have anything worth it. There was never really a time that New Monarchy had anything good. The best you've ever really had that like really stood out was a sidearm that even that was overshadowed by the Havoc Pigeon. So sad boys. Sucks to be a New Monarchy guy. Dead Orbit and Future Warcraft got love, but not New Monarchy. Continuing the path of feeling bad, one, I went to the wrong Crucible vendor. I went to Shaxx already instead of the Quartermaster. Two, none of the rolls for the vendor Quartermaster at for Crucible is really worth it. There's none of them really good. Here's a Palindrome roll for this week. It has reactive reload and spray play, which are pretty cool, but it's only reinforced barrel. If it doesn't have rifle barrel, not worth it. Same goes for basically every single hand cannon out there. So hoping for next week maybe we'll have a really cool roll. In previous episodes, I was talking about how the Continental and Bone Crusher seem to have a lot of really interesting rolls, and I keep wanting to try them out. Try Continental in both PvE and PvP for the respective rolls. Never seems worth it. Same with Bone Crusher. It just doesn't do enough damage to justify the low mag size, and it's just not great. You definitely, for LMGs or PvE, want to go for the Wrath of the Machine LMG, or get the Baron's Ambition from the like Saber Strike, or whatever other strike drops Baron Ambition. I forget. I think Tanix, the strike, the Shadow Thief, whatever it's called. I think he also drops it. Not entirely sure. Can't remember right. It's like 2 a.m. when I'm recording this. 2:30 a.m. Nice. The Teacup Tempest is the closest we got to a really good roll because we have Feeding Frenzy, which is really good for sidearms since you run out of mag size a lot. However, because ammo nerfs, you're probably never going to reload a sidearm ever again. So for Zen Moment, we can go with that. Snapshot's very nice as well as high caliber rounds for a sidearm. And Hot Swap is something that's really cool because not only does it boost accuracy, which still removes bloom and stuff like that, which still kind of exists for sidearms. Also, you can activate Hot Swipe by pulling out your ghost and putting your ghost away. It's a neat little trick that's actually faster than switching weapons, especially if you don't have quick draws. So putting up your ghost and putting it away activates Hot Swap. So that helps you out be a little more accurate on your sidearm, especially when you're in the air. Snapshot and high caliber rounds are both very good. Kind of a personal preference. High caliber rounds makes it harder for people to shoot back at you. Snapshot makes it easier to shoot at them accurately very fast. And Zen Moment, you can land your shots very consistently once you land your first shot. So that's actually a really good roll for one of the top tier sidearms. I would put this right slightly below Wormwood, right around that Havoc Pigeon state, as well as, what's the other one? I think Anton's Rule is solid, but I would probably put Teacup Tempest and Havoc Pigeon as like tied for second best sidearms. Wormwood as the best as far as legendary goes. So if you don't like using Wormwood, this is actually a really good sidearm to get this week, and might end up being the best weapon this week because overall not many things are very good. Dead Orbit is basically a no-go this week. I would say the Teacup Tempest roll for this week is actually better than this Wormwood. However, this also has Hot Swap, has Quick Draw, which is very convenient for a sidearm, and Fitted Stock helps with stability a little bit, but overall, I actually probably would go the Teacup Tempest roll over this Wormwood for this week if you need a sidearm now and you don't have a god roll yet. There you go. This Ghost is 35-34, which is kind of close. Not a god roll though, because 35-35 is the best you can get. So one off, it kind of does the job for you if you need a tier 12, but it's not perfect. Starting off with armor pieces now for the vendor rolls, because that's it for weapons. Sadly, there's nothing really exciting this week, nothing really great. Overall, I would recommend Teacup Tempest and probably nothing else. For Hunter gear at the Future Warcraft, nothing's really that great. The cloak is 2 away because 35-35 is the best you can get. As far as Dead Orbit goes for Hunters, none of the gear nor ghosts really are worth it or high enough stat rolls for me to recommend. Crucible Gauntlets are actually really close to God roll. 58-58 is the highest you can get for Gauntlets. 58-57, 1 away. The only thing about them is its sniper reload speed, which is not useful at all in PvP. I do not recommend it whatsoever for PvP. but in PvE content, especially in raids, you use sniper rifles a lot, especially for boss damage, and that's going to come in handy very significantly for you. So if you need gauntlets for PvE 12 tier roll, there you go. You got gauntlets from Shaxx this week. Best Cage 6S for hunters this week is the Cloak, which is 1 away from a god roll from 35-35. It's 35-34. Nothing else is close enough to really recommend. Continual Sadness from New Marquee. Nothing really worthwhile for the hunter to recommend for this week. The tears will continue pouring down my face as the Warlocks also are getting screwed by New Marquee. Nothing worthwhile at all this week from them. From Shaxx, the Bond is kind of close to god roll. 34-35. 1 away from perfect. That's the best you got from Shaxx. Nothing else is very close at all. Ikora Ray also doesn't offer very much for the Warlocks, so I wouldn't really look to her for gear or ghosts either. Dead Orbit options are also pretty trash for Warlocks this week. Nothing really close at all to a god roll. Man, Warlocks actually got really screwed this week. There is literally nothing at all except for a class item. One class item from Ikora Ray is all the Warlocks got that's worth looking at for this week. Dang, hopefully next week is a little bit better for them. I thought the Hunters had bad with 1 PvE roll of Gauntlets. But dang. Titans got a little bit of love from the Future War Cult this week. Their boots are 3 away from a god roll. 79 is the highest stat for each of them they can get. So 76, 79, that's pretty close. I don't know if you'd be able to get a 12 tier with a lot of your gear at this level. But having only 1 piece of gear at this level, you probably can get away with being at 12 tier. But I will continue striving to find something that's better than this. In the meantime, this is pretty darn good. Best thing Dead Orbit has for Titans is the Mark at 35-34. 35 is the highest stat you can get them all for. So 1 away from perfect roll. That's pretty good if you have nothing better, but there is always that something out there. Shaxx doesn't have anything for his fellow Titans this week, so don't worry about visiting him for Crucible or any kind of armor at all. Zavala also doesn't have much for his Titan brethren. Nothing is really worth it that he offers at all. Ghost is at 34-34. It's the closest. It's 2 away from a perfect roll, which can go highest to 35 each. That's really the best you got there. Alright, and to close out the week at New Marquee, none of the armor pieces really are worth it, but the class items 1 away from a perfect roll, so if you have nothing better, then this is a pretty solid option for you. 35 is the highest in each. 35-34, pretty darn close. Pretty darn close. So we got like kind of boots and a class item for Titan this week, kind of a class item for Warlock, and pretty solid gauntlets for PvE for a Hunter this week. That's actually pretty bad overall. And then as far as weapons go, all I could really recommend were 2 sidearms that neither were perfect rolls either. So it's kind of a lame and lackluster week, but nevertheless, thank you for watching. I freaking appreciate you. Adios.